Hey, so I wanted to make this video to hopefully bring you some sense of relief if you're a business owner, you're thinking of starting a business, and perhaps you are nervous about being able to get your client results, whether you have a client, maybe you're looking to get a client. And one of the biggest things that stops people from growing or starting a business is this fear of not being able to produce, not being able to do the things that you promised. I got you. I will say this as someone who has started several different companies and someone who's running two different companies right now, this is still something that exists in the back of my mind. And I hope that this video can bring you some sort of relief. I'm gonna give you the strategic play and outline of what to do so that you know how to set yourself up for success even going into this. But also, let's just say you can't get results for your client. I'll show you exactly what to do, how to sort of communicate this so that you don't feel bad about yourself, you don't lose confidence, you don't develop some sort of bad reputation. Like I'll fast forward in saying that a lot of this stuff is made up, but there is a way to handle this kind of thing. And one of the things that'll take, the thing that takes you furthest in business is staying power, just staying in the game long enough. But I understand, as someone who is a serial opportunity hopper, I understand why one would want to give up on themselves and stop doing a certain business because they're not able to get results. And I understand how demotivating that can be. So I'm going to help you try and stay in the game as long as possible. And one of the best ways to do that is to minimize the gravity of a loss, to minimize how much that deters you from being able to do what it is that you promise and what it is that you set out to do, which is to make as much money as possible, I'm going to assume. But anyway, here's exactly what to do if you can't get your client results, or if you're thinking of starting a business, starting an AI marketing agency, for example, and you don't have any clients, but you're worried about being able to get them results. So the reality of being a service provider or selling products or running any sort of business is that you won't always be able to get your client results. That's just, again, the reality of things. And you really just need to, this is when you start to understand the idea of churn, that churn is a natural part of business, whether it's a service or a product. People stop buying your products after a while. People stop renewing your services after a while. Ideally, you want to extend that for as long as possible, but it is a natural part of business. And so the most advanced business people in the world, entrepreneurs, founders, they have churn in their business, and that is a natural part of business. And your success rate only needs to be, let's just say, or there's a better way to say this, but your success rate only needs to be over 50%. Like I'm giving you and I'm starting with the mindset piece before we get into the tactics and strategy, okay? Your success rate only needs to be over 50%, meaning ideally, and not even that, it can be less than that, but what I'm trying to say is you don't have to be successful in all of your engagements, in every client you take on. Ideally, you want to be more, you want to have more wins than losses, but even sometimes that's not possible. Now, if that's not possible, then we start to ask questions about, okay, is the system actually working? Is the offer you're selling actually, or are the clients you're taking on actually running decent offers? Depending on what you're doing, I'm assuming you're running some sort of marketing agency, AI, cold email, something of that nature. You want to be in a place where, again, skipping ahead, where you're taking in more clients than you're losing, or at least you're making more money than you're spending out. And that's the only way your business stays profitable. But I say all this to say, I'm finding a bunch of different angles of saying the same thing. And what I'm trying to say here is, you're not going to always be able to get your client results. You just want to be making more money than you're losing. Cool. If you can do that, you are good. All right. And as you mature in business, you will have a better eye for the clients that you can and cannot get results. Right? So anyway, so let's talk about going into an engagement. Before you even sign a client on, this is part of why we have guarantees. Guarantees are not only to protect your client, but to protect you. And so this risk of not being able to get your client results, you shouldn't be, overwhelmed with this. Like that should be factored into your guarantee. Having to refund your client is not the end of the world. That is a natural course of business. Your clients have no problem asking for refunds. You should have no problem giving refunds. Now, I understand it takes some expenditure to be able to be able to provide the service. That's cool. Ideally, you have some cash in the bank so that you can refund them, right? So if you're charging a 5K or 10K offer and you need $1,000 for expenditure to be able to provide the service, and they ask for a refund, either you put a clause in the contract that says you have a 10% non-refundable deposit, or you have a deposit and 10% of that is non-refundable, for example, or you just have an emergency refund, which is not the end of the world. But One thing that stops people is thinking that giving a refund means they're not good at business. I will refund people just because I don't want to work with them. Like, sometimes an engagement doesn't work out. And a great analogy for this, forgive me, is dating. Like, not every client relationship works out. That's fine. You are testing them out as much as they are testing you out. And we can agree to disengage. That's just a natural part of business. They likely don't take any hard feelings about it. They won't remember you tomorrow or in a year. So nor should you. Cool. Like, there's like this, I find that a lot of agency owners and service providers put a lot of undue pressure on themselves to have a perfect success rate. I have a far from perfect success rate. But one thing I do is I have a steady stream of clients coming in, or deals or opportunities coming in, to where it's not do or die if this situation or this client, this engagement doesn't work. And that's the position that you really want to work yourself in. And we'll talk about that in a moment. But point being, factor this into your guarantee. By the way, I'm gonna have all of these notes sent out in my newsletter. If you're on my newsletter, you usually know that I send out notes based on my YouTube videos in more depth, or just summarize in a different way. So if you're not on my newsletter, find any one of my videos that has a Notion doc in it. If you download the Notion doc, it's free. It'll automatically sign you up to my newsletter, and you'll get all of these notes. Or you can just put the transcript in a GPT if you want. Anyway, getting back to this. So factor this into your guarantee, and then don't worry about it outside of that. If you are like 4 or 5 weeks into an engagement, you never know. Sometimes things might turn around for the better. Like this has happened to me. Sometimes it may not work. But just factor this into your guarantee, and just know that at the end of the day, because you have a guarantee, whether it's overt or not, whether it's being vocalized or not, because you have a guarantee, you're protected. That guarantee is to protect you as much as it is to protect your client. Because if you didn't have a guarantee and you didn't get them results, and you weren't at the very least saying, okay, I'll work with you until you get the result, now is when people start to get upset with you as a person, right? And that has a bunch of other issues. So you should absolutely have a guarantee if you are doing B2B, done for you services. You should absolutely have a guarantee at the highest level. Look at like the Cole Gordons of the world, running 8-figure businesses, for example. They have guarantees, right? You've all seen Cole Gordon's ad where it's like, we'll place a proven appointment setter in your business, and if they don't perform, you don't pay. Like, that is a business that makes, I don't know, $5, $8, maybe $10 million a month, something like that. They got guarantees. Guarantee doesn't necessarily mean you're a beginner. This is a standard for done for you services. If it's done with you, we can adjust in some other way, shape, or form. Like, usually for my done with you stuff, I have a preset time frame, which we'll talk about in a second. I keep saying that because we will. Or I'll just work with you until we get you the result. But that's just because I take my client wins personally, and I like to see them get results. But if it's a done for you service, like I'm doing cold email on your behalf, listen, like the way a deal is structured is so that it protects the client and it makes it clear that this is a reality of doing business. Like, if we could get 100% success rate, there would be no need for a guarantee at all on the contract. See what I mean? So factor this into your guarantee, which you should absolutely have if you're doing B2B done for you services. Next, as a founder, which I'm going to assume you are if you're watching this video, as a founder, you should always be spending a disproportionate amount of your time on marketing and on getting new clients and on outreach. If you can, 70-30 or 80-20 if possible. As a founder, you must commit to being the face of the business. And if you are not the type of person to be the face of the business, you better partner up with someone who's good on the front end if you're going to handle the back end. And if you don't have that, and you think you're going to grow some AI agency or AI cold email agency from your basement without ever showing your face or whatever, without ever doing anything other than cold email outreach, if you think you're going to grow to these levels, I mean, you can, but in the time frame we talk about on this channel, or the time frames, it's not, I personally don't know anybody who has done that. So really, really consider, like, I wouldn't be talking about making, look, I'm here making content for a reason, right? I wouldn't be encouraging you to make content if it wasn't going to help you get results. I work with a lot of people on the done with you and mentorship side, not even mentorship, but like consulting side, and they want to either scale their business in the way I did with Vintascale and Spectre, and am doing with Spectre right now, or they want to replicate the agency that I built. And I'm the first one to mention that, hey, a lot of my personal success, which isn't anything crazy, but it's enough. A lot of my personal, enough to be one of the leaders in this space. A lot of that has come from posting content, and it's not necessarily a bad thing. So you should be, as a founder, you should always be spending a disproportionate amount of your time on content. So that means if you're spending the vast majority of your time on fulfillment, there's something wrong. There's something wrong, okay? So in the actual engagement, so let's just say you signed on the client already. What's really important when you're doing the deal, meaning when you're outlining the terms of your engagement in your proposal, for example, it's very important. Like, this is why it's important to set a time frame for the engagement, because sometimes you won't be able to get them results 4 or 6 weeks in. And you're like, okay, is it time to pull out? Should I exit? What should I do here? I can only keep buying myself so much time. What's going to give the client some sort of ease? Yes, they might be annoyed. Fine. So are you. Cool. We're all annoyed. But what gives them some ease is that there's a set time frame. It's like, okay, 30 days or 90 days, right? So this allows you to set the expectations beforehand in the form of a time window. And then also you should be setting expectations as to the fact that the first few weeks are really just a testing period and that they have to be open to what happens in this time period. So a lot of now when you're starting an engagement, in other words, is just buying time. So we've been running, so perfect example. We're running ads now. We've been running ads for December, January, February. It's Wednesday, February 18th now I'm posting this. Our ads just started taking off now. Our ads just started taking off now in month 3, which is normal. Like sometimes it even takes 6 months. Like very, very rarely do you get ads working out the gate. If you run ads, you have to be ready to burn money. Our ads just started taking off right now. We're really seeing the fruits of our labor here. So the same thing applies with cold email, because it's just cold traffic. An ad is just like a cold email, but there's a creative around it, right? You need a testing period, and then it's on you as the consultant, as the founder, as the business owner, to be able to consult your client as well into what the expectations should be and what the results curve should look like, or the results graph. Now, let's just say you've done all that. If you absolutely cannot get your client results for whatever reason, we got to start taking a look at if we really did everything that we could have possibly done. Like if we're only sending cold emails, did we get feedback on them? If we only do cold emails, did we try maybe exploring LinkedIn as an avenue? Cold calling as an avenue? Let's just say we're not willing to do any of those things, or we don't have time to do those things. We can only stick to cold email. We've gotten the feedback, we've tested the offer, tested different copies, so on and so forth. Now it's time to start identifying. So get ready for a refund. Let me just say that flat out. And that's fine, because sometimes the best thing is knowing someone doesn't work for you, or you don't work well for someone. We're allowed to disengage and move forward with our lives. That's cool. The faster you realize that this client relationship isn't going to work, the faster we can get onto a client relationship that will work out. Do not worry, they're not going to go on the internet and disparage you as long as you give them their refund. Or if it's not a refund, so long as you commit to getting them results, working with them until you get the results. But now, if you can't get them results for whatever reason, you tried everything to your knowledge, now it's time to start identifying what it is about the client that didn't allow you to be successful. And a lot of the times, like most people are good enough at cold email, for example, after about 3 months, 2 to 3 months, even if they haven't gotten a client yet. You know how the system works. So now it's time to start identifying what it is about the client that didn't allow you to be successful. Is it their industry? Is it their niche? Lack of a brand name? I know one thing that stops a lot of my clients from getting results is they don't have any sort of presence on the internet. And that was a big problem when I first started, because I was working with clients with like 3 to 5 employees who didn't care to have a website, or the website looked like it was made in 1999, or they only work in a certain geographic region, or they're hyper niched, or they're working in a hyper competitive industry, right? I do a lot of work in accounting and finance and staffing and recruitment, and a lot of times like the companies we have to reach out to on their behalf have a lot of spam filters or cold email filters or whatever. It's like they're hard to reach. So you learn through trial and error what clients not to go after, right? And also, what you should try and do, and very selfishly, but I'm only here to position you for success, is throughout the engagement, if you get a single bite or a single result, you should be capturing that in some way and documenting that in some way and add that to your list of case studies and testimonials. And you should be milking the heck out of every single micro result that you get. That is a hack that I'm giving you for free. And that might be its own little video or newsletter, like how to build case studies or testimonials quickly. If I get like one response, I'm going to talk about it. I'm going to make a case study about how I got that response. I'm going to screenshot it. I'm going to consult, or I'm going to talk to my client about it to get their reaction from the result. I'm going to get like 4 different pieces of testimonials and case studies from one micro result. The reason why this is important is because so often people are waiting for the home run result that they get a client to be able to start putting together a case study or a testimonial, and it's not going to happen like that. Or so often people wait to fulfill their engagement to be able to get a testimonial. And like, think about what we just talked about. Your success rate isn't going to be 100% or even 80%. You know what I mean? So like the biggest agency owners in the world don't have an 80% success rate. It's just not, I mean, I don't know their success rate personally, but I'm saying it's never perfect. And it's rarely ever as high as you think. You know, it's just that they have all the other pieces of a normal business in place, like guarantees, like contingency plans, like outreach and marketing to bring in more clients than they lose or fire, so that they're all right. It allows them to be set up all right. And case studies, testimonials like these need to be built up in inches. Take what you can get in terms of a case study or testimonial piece of documentation and start to store that and build that quickly as you go. That's super important, so that yes, things may not work out in full with this client, but you at the very least still got some sort of case study or testimonial, whether it's like a positive lead or a positive response, you know what I mean? So you should definitely be protecting yourself in that way as much as you possibly can. So listen, you may have been expecting some sort of magic answer like, hey, if you can't, here's exactly what to do if you can't get your client results, do this thing that allows you to start getting your clients results. That isn't how relationships work. This is a relationship. The same way a friendship is, the same way a romantic relationship is, this is a business relationship, right? And it doesn't always go as planned. And in a lot of cases, it is not your fault, especially if you're dealing with companies that don't have money or companies that are very, very small and aren't doing well on your own. Like, you can avoid a lot of this just by picking the right client and have other videos on that. But if you're in the middle of this, or if you don't have a client yet and you're looking to get a client, I hope this gives you some ease. That all the people you see, like myself, who you know, just from optics might be on this little high horse of like success. It's not always like that. There's a reason why I put out content on top of all the other things I do. It's so that I can continue to get more clients than I lose. And if you're gonna write anything down, you should write this part down. Honest business wins. Honest business wins always. Right? And I say this in calls. I'm like, hey, so the reality is, you know, I may or may not be able to get results. All I need to do is be 80% confident. We'll try this out, or not even try this out. Like, I'll get you results, but it's going to be, it's not if, but when. And I kind of set expectations in that way, you know. But I'm at the point now where like I don't take on clients. Like, I know which clients I can and can't get results for, and I reject 80% of them. This is why your closing rate only needs to be 20%. Or one of the reasons. Cool. So I hope that brings you some sort of ease and relieves any sort of like unnecessary pressure you might be putting on yourself. Because a lot of you guys, especially those who work with me in Inspector, you're charging 6, 8, 10K, 12K for a client engagement, and you're 4 or 5 weeks in, you're not able to get them any sort of results. That's fine. If you're a smart, savvy business person, you're not spending all that money anyway. At the very start, you have some cash reserves. And then if you're doing these big deals, you have to set yourself up in a way to where if things go south, your client isn't trying to like berate you on the internet. So, okay, so then how you do that, like we've talked about, is in the form of guarantees and performance guarantees, conditional guarantees, money back guarantees, whatever it might be. Cool. Just don't believe the myth that everybody is like, every person you see on YouTube is getting results 100% of the time. No, not at all. Not at all. It's not always like that. It's just knowing how to navigate business. Cool. Anyway, nothing to sell you. Hope that helps. Like, comment, subscribe. Peace.